A very good evening. It is exactly 9 p.m. East African time. Time for Look Up News. We've got lots lined up for you this evening. And of course, our feature for tonight. Do stand by for that as well. Before we get into all of that, here are our top stories.
It costed the Republic of Kenya less than 10 million.
Tonight on Look Up News, the debate should end. President William Ruto now says as he maintains the private jet only cost taxpayers 10 million shillings. Various stakeholders continue to oppose the new tax proposals at the 2024 finance bill. And on our special feature, Majedu Sen spent the day with Joseph Simiyu, a one-legged border operator.
Once more, welcome to the broadcast. The hashtag is Look Up News. I am Nancy Nalima. Our sign language interpreter is Felista Adundo. Let's begin. President William Ruto has today defended himself against heaping ridicule over his recent state visit to the United States. This comes as Ruto jetted out of the country aboard a chartered Boeing 737-700 said to be operated by the Royal Jet of Dubai. The trip snaking through Nairobi to Atlanta and Washington, D.C. on the luxury jet had been reported to have cost taxpayers around 98 million shillings. And a round trip could have potentially surpassed 200 million shillings mark. Ian Kitani opens our bulletin tonight.
With his recent 4-day straight visit to the United States sparking a debate, the cost of the luxurious private jet raising eyebrows, President William Ruto has today put the conversation to rest, claiming that the jet only costed 10 million shillings.
When I was told the cheapest plane was 70 million, I told my office, go book Kenya Airways. Yeah. So when some friends of mine heard that I was going to travel Kenya Airways, and we have built a big reputation as a country. We have built friends. Some friends told me, how much do you want to pay? I said, I'm not ready to pay more than 20 million. They said, bring 10 million, we will give you the plane. In fact, let me disclose here that it costed the Republic of Kenya less than 10 million.
Speaking during the National Prayer Breakfast at Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi, the head of state called on Kenyans to tighten their belts, insisting that he will lead from the front.
As I tell others to tighten up their belt, mine must be where to begin. The debate must end because I am that responsible. And it is going to be that way.
Noting that his government is working on bilateral agreements, Ruto has called on Kenyans to rise to the occasion, boasting of Kenya's human capital in the United States.
And create pathways for employment of the people of Kenya in different parts of the world, because we have one of the best human resource capital anywhere in the world. Despite all the challenges, I believe strongly that every generation is called upon to rise up and tackle the challenges of their time.
Ian Kitani, Lookuptv.
Away from that, various stakeholders today continue to submit their views on the Finance Bill 2024 before the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Anderson Tax LLP, through their submissions, claimed the proposals were going to hard the come on Mwananchi. Stanley Lugari attended the sessions and files the following story.
Members expressed their dissatisfaction with the reintroduction of VAT on financial services. Grant Thornton Associates felt the effect will be detrimental as it will increase the cost of doing business, which will further be extended and the whole luggage left to the hustler, as jet servicing will then be kept at 16% as proposed.
Entities complied on it. So this penalty, strictly speaking, the way it is worded, it's actually targeting the small person.
PKF and Eastern Africa Green Council, during a joint presentation, proposed the deletion of new tax proposals on software ownership, which has now been categorized as a royalty under the Finance Bill 2024, as well as the proposed amendment and reintroduction of the VAT tax, terming it a disadvantage and burdensome to the manufacturers, urging the MPs to increase the tax on certain commodities and retain the tax exemptions on agricultural products, since it's the backbone of the country.
Zero rating to exempting of tax, especially on the raw materials, whether produced locally or imported, supplied to manufacturers of agricultural pest control products and raw materials for fertilizer.
The betting sector wants the new tax proposals of up to 20% from the current 12.5% slashed off, revealing the proposition will see for every 1,000 shillings won, the banter will be forced to part ways with at least 224 shillings in form of taxes.
You increase the taxes in this sector, we have more people betting offshore. Not only are we expatriating our foreign exchange, we are and our jobs, because this sector will shut down, but it is more advantageous for somebody to bet from outside than inside Kenya.
Lawyers Hub and Bloggers Association slammed the increase of internet cost to 20%, which will rather lead to internet divide amongst users.
This is going to increase the digital divide, and what we mean by digital divide is a situation where only the rich neighborhood are able to access the internet.
That we are still going to be taxing this seller, isn't it? So probably that is something we can also consider moving forward.
The Ernest and Martin Associates opposed the idea of the construction of 100 units of houses to cater for the affordable housing project, proposing that the bill should provide a time frame to enable proper planning, for instance in case of disposing of the units to give space for the project, as well as opposing the deletion of Section 14 on excise duty, which proposes that the addition of excise duty on cooking oil. The duo proposes imposing an excise duty on imported roofing materials, such as tiles, of up to 35% to caution local manufacturers, since the finished product is of more or similar state.
From page 600 to page 683, reasons for amendments have not been provided for. They're just stating where the amendment will happen, but the reasons are not provided. As part of Article 35, Kenyans need to know, why is the government proposing something?
Ernest further calls on parliamentarians as well as the parastatal directors to cease remitting house levies, since the duo are not tied under the Employment Act, with MPs only answerable to the voters at the end of their 5-year tenure in office. Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Now, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has loaded the Limuru 3 meeting, calling for the implementation of the BBR report, noting that it will bring equity and equality. Kalonzo was speaking during a meeting with the faction of Jubilee Party led by Jeremiah Kioni. Maureen Bosire with more.
Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka today convened a special National Executive Council meeting at the party headquarters in Nairobi. Issues raised during the meeting are the resolutions of Limuru 3, Musyoka terming it as a meeting to promote devolution through decentralizing services across all counties.
Limuru 3, I believe, was a celebration of culture and diversity, and what remains even more abundantly so is that we should promote our unique and diverse identities regardless of the challenges and aspirations. Devolution is perhaps the current abiding hallmark of Constitution 2010. We have indeed decentralized services, thoughts and practices from Nairobi to the 46 counties.
Musyoka indicated that the meeting is in support of the NADCO report, which talks about political inclusivity, shunning away the mode of one man, one vote, one shilling, adding that Mount Kenya leaders and the Wiper Party leaders have agreed on devolving the county budgetary allocation to 35%.
Do point out to this inclusivity, equitable share of resources, so that a person's vote counts. So those who have been scared by the mantra, one man, one shilling, one vote, shouldn't. We will devolve resources to the counties to the minimum of 35%
However, Musyoka indicated that the government has not given priority to its citizens, especially in dealing with issues of the doctors' strike and the fake fertilizer saga, saying that it is ridiculous that the bottom-up economic transformation agenda has been replaced by the, and I quote, the state capture.
It is abundantly clear that people's voice and needs are secondary to this administration's frightful plan.
Today's meeting at the Wiper headquarters seeks to embrace the politics of inclusivity and equitable shared resources, thus favoring the common mwananchi. Maureen Bosire, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
President William Ruto now says that the government has spent over 300 million shillings to provide an alternative shelter to those relocated from riverbeds. According to the head of state, 27,000 people who are living in riparian land have been relocated. The demolitions have attracted uproar from sections of the public, with homeowners claiming that bulldozers have caught them unawares in their houses, leading to injuries and deaths.
A few weeks ago, as you all know, we went through another storm of floods, and we lost 200 people in Kenya. We have also had to relocate already 27,000 people from riparian reserves. We have spent close to 300 million shillings to make sure that these people who have been relocated have alternative places to stay. We still have another 13,000 that we are processing so that we can relocate them. And because we have been told that there will be above normal rains in Kenya for the next 7 years, we have to be careful so that we don't again put Kenyans in danger. And that is why, as a government, we have said we will relocate Kenyans who live in fragile ecosystems along riparian reserves, because we cannot afford to lose any life anymore.
12 Gikamba traders have moved to court to stop the demolition of the infamous Gikamba market by the Nairobi City County. Led by their lawyer Dunstan Omari, the traders noted that they've been paying land rates accordingly, adding that demolishing the market will be a big blow, it serving an estimated 5 million people locally and internationally.
In a bid to halt the ongoing demolitions in Gikamba, 12 traders have taken their plea to court seeking intervention from corridors of justice. The applicants, in a file dated 24th, 2024, expressed grave concerns over the exposure to demolitions, citing the tragic deaths of 2 individuals from the Solidarity Group due to depressions induced by the demolitions. Addressing the press at Kilimani Law Courts shortly after lodging their case at the Kilimani High Court, the group led by city lawyer Dunstan Omari asserted that their rights have been grossly violated. They claim occupancy of the land since 1992 with consistent land rate payments and legal filings to support their tenure. The sudden demolitions have left them bewildered, questioning the motives behind the destruction of their businesses.
I have 222 Gikamba traders trading by the name of Solidarity. They entered this place around 1936. Their grandparents and their parents, and now these are some of the children who inherited this land. They have been paying taxes and rates to the county government, the local authority then, now the county government of Nairobi. They have genuine licenses. They have been trading here. Every political regime that has come has acknowledged that they have a right to be there. Save that this time there are individuals in government who want that land, to take possession of that land, to do the same business that these people are doing.
John Kinami, chairman of the Solidarity Group, echoed Omari's sentiments, calling upon President William Ruto to intervene, citing promises to safeguard the interests of hustlers. Kinami highlighted the plight of the group, highlighting their status as heirs of the original allottees. He described the situation as dire, with children suffering due to the loss of livelihoods.
Tumekuja hapa kotini tukiwa na malilio yetu kwa sababu tukiwa tumegandamizwa na county government kwa kubomoa vibanda zetu kutuacha tukiwa hatuna cha kufanya, kwa kuwa tuna watoto wanasoma, na sisi tunaomba koti hii itusikize, na tumeona ikiwa na pande yetu, kwa sababu sisi tuna ushahidi kwamba pale wazazi wetu ndio walitupa ile nafasi, ndio walianza pale. Miaka ya hapo awali tumekuwa hapo, na sisi bado tumekuwa hapo tukilipa leseni.
The court is set to deliver its ruling on the application come June 10th, following due process and service to all concerned parties. Martin Masharia, Lookuptv.
President William Ruto now says Kenya penned down a deal with the United States that will see the construction of a tuition facility at the National Defense College. Speaking during the graduation ceremony at the facility, Ruto lauded women within the forces for the bold step taken in protecting the country.
Just days after his 4-day state visit to the United States, President William Ruto hinted at the United States setting up a tuition facility at the National Defense College as part of the deal signed during his visit, emphasizing the collaborative efforts between the two entities in training and preparing military leaders to address emerging security challenges.
I am delighted to announce that the Ministry of Defense, in collaboration with the United States government, is building a new tuition facility for the college in response to the growing demand of National Defense College's esteemed courses.
Speaking during the graduation ceremony at the National Defense College, underscored the importance of incorporating women into the armed forces, citing their unique perspective and skills as valuable assets.
I am gratified to see the increasing number of female officers among participants each year. This commitment to gender inclusivity reflects the Ministry of Defense dedication to fostering diverse and capable leadership.
The Commander-in-Chief also lauded the institution for its critical role in shaping Kenya's national security and overall development agenda, with no exception to the graduates who he says have shown dedication and resilience in the 49 weeks of training.
Remember that your journey of learning and leadership has just begun. You will face complexity, difficulty, uncertainty, volatility, and adversity. Have confidence that your education in strategic thought and management has prepared you to perceive and utilize opportunities with fortitude and with integrity. I congratulate each graduate on completing your duties at the National Defense College. I commend your families for their loyal support during your year-long preparation for vital national responsibilities.
Jasmine Maina, Lookuptv.
It's a good time for us to take a fast break here on the program. So much more on the other side, including a young man who is a border rider with one leg. Don't go too far.
Na mimi nikufundishe kuhusu ufugaji ama kuweka mbuzi wa maziwa.
Hauhitaji utafute kichaka ya kwenda kulisha mbuzi, utafute mtu wa kulisha. Unahitaji tu hiyo space yako kidogo uutilize vizuri katika zero grazing unit. Mbuzi anakula chakula kilicho kidogo sana ukikompea na ng'ombe ambao tunawafuga katika maboma zetu.
Nionyeshe mbuzi wa maziwa.
Mbuzi wa maziwa ni hawa wote vile unavyowaona.
Hii mapembe ndio mbuzi wa maziwa.
Na wacha nikwambie, nimeshangaa sana leo. Fura umeingia tu hivi pap na mbuzi wangu wamezaa. Pia kuna wale watu wako na shida zao za mwili, kuna wale wa pressure na magonjwa mbalimbali katika mwili. Unahitaji kukunywa maziwa ya mbuzi ndio ikaweze kukusaidia na kuongeza immunity yako ikuje juu.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Lookup News. Nancy Lima here and Felista Adundo on the sign language interpretation. Nzoia Sugar Factory employees have called on the president to intervene and ensure their dues amounting to 1.8 billion shillings are given to them. As Naomi, a court now files, the employees are worried that despite a promise from Agriculture PS Paul Rono of their dues being paid, it might take longer than expected.
The Nzoia workers, led by the chairman of the sugar mills, Bernard Wanyonyi, have decried working for more than 27 months without pay, are now calling on President William Ruto to intervene, noting that in as much as Bungoma County will host this year Madaraka Day celebrations, their family will continue to live in anguish.
Mwezi wa pili tarehe 1, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya alitembelea kiwanda cha Nzoia na aliwaagiza kwamba anaenda kujaribu alipe wafanyakazi wa viwanda za miwa, kwa sababu wote kuanzia Nzoia, Chemelil, Mhoroni, Soni, wote kuna malimbikisi ya mishahara zao katika kaunti ya Bungoma.
The workers claim just a day after Agricultural Ministry Secretary Philip Rono said about the government to put in place a 3-month pay plan for the installment. Information from reliable sources say the promise could take time.
Na sisi kama wafanyakazi tunaomba tu, kwa sababu alituagiza kwamba atatukumbuka kwa mshahara ambao alituagiza miezi 3. Kwa niaba ya wafanyakazi wote, Rais, tunataka tucherekee na wewe hii Madaraka kama wananchi wengine, kama Wakenya wengine, utukumbuke, kwa sababu ni kama watu wanatake advantage, wanatumia maisha yetu ama maisha ya wafanyakazi ndio ya kisiasa. Sisi tunaumia. Kwa miezi zaidi ya 30 hatujapata mshahara.
Wanyonyi further said that workers in the country's sugar mills are not opposed to the government's plan to privatize for state-owned industries, but want their debts paid first.
We are not against leasing, but we are saying we want to be part and parcel of leasing. You go to Mumias at the moment, former workers of Mumias are still living in company houses. The reason being, waliharakisha leasing, wakawachwa bending, hata saizi wengine hawakupata transport ya kupeleka hata vitu zao nyumbani. We don't want to end up the same way. We are saying leasing will go on, and leasing will go on only after wamelipa malimbukisi ya mishahara ya wafanyikazi.
Naomi Akoth, Lookuptv.
Now, over the years, people living with disability have been stigmatized and looked down upon. However, despite the stigmatization, most of them have gone against all odds to make a living for themselves. Today, on our special feature, we shine a light on the life of Joseph Simiyu, a one-legged boda operator.
Amid the hustle and bustle in the city of Nairobi, we meet Joseph Simiyu, a 33-year-old man popularly known as Jose. Joseph is a one-legged boda operator who fends for himself through his daily boda operations in the city. Here, we see him happily attending to his customers as he chauffeurs them with no fear. 2 years ago, Joseph was a man who was living life without any disability before an accident costed him his right leg.
Kitu ya kwanza ni wewe unajikubali. So mimi nilijikubali, nikaona yes, nimepoteza mguu. First nimejikubali, nimejiitikia imeenda, lakini niko na uzima. So the second challenge ni kuwa na kazi. Sasa unaona,
his life is not defined by his disability, as he is a very jovial person and friendly to everyone. Joseph recalls how that unfortunate accident not only costed him his leg but also took his wife.
Saidi ya kuachwa hiyo na iko, lakini unafaa, wengi sana wanaondokea wakati shida imepata mtu. Mimi nilikuwa na mke na aliniacha, tulikuwa naye na mtoto mmoja, she left me, but for now I regret why.
He narrates how his status led to customers shying away, doubtful of their safety. Just like many disabled people in Nairobi, Joseph too tried begging in the streets before deciding to venture into boda riding.
Kuna clients ambao maybe wa mtu wako na uoga, yes, anaona huyu msee anaweza niangusha wako, lakini but kama nilijikubali kutoka kwenye nilikuwa ndo nikuje nifike hapa, na boda hii si boda inapaa, na hiyo ndio inatuma pia wengi tunakuwa na ile nini like courage ya kuona sasa unatumia hiyo opportunity ya kufanya nini, kubeg people, kuomba watu hatukatai. Pia mimi nishaomba kwa street, but ilikuwa hard because mtu anakuja anakuambia bro, we si mtu wa kubeg people, we si ukai mtu wa kuomba.
Disability is not inability. This is Joseph's way of moving from one place to another, as he calls on well-wishers to help him buy a prosthetic leg. Joseph's unfortunate situation did not stand as an obstacle in his way, as he claims if life is not lost, then all is not lost.
So hiyo time ndio ambayo mimi nachukua kuruka, yani kufanya at least exercise. Scratches ziko naweza tumia nikifika kwa nyumba, yes weekend, but ni kitu ambayo roho yangu hajapenda. Mimi kitu ambayo naweza penda ni kuwa na mguu ya plastic.
Here we had a chance to speak with his fellow boda operators, who termed Joseph as a dedicated young man who also poses a great competition to them.
The moment ako katikati yetu, definitely mtu atajua alafu pia amechangamuka yeye mwenyewe. Unajua kama ni mtu amekalia mguu moja na ako mnyonge hivi utaogopa. Station ako nayo ni motivation. Napata watu kama sisi labda tuko na mguu zote, mkono zote, lakini bado mtu analia mashida.
Alienda ma stage mingi sana, lakini ile stage aliona anaweza fanyia kazi ni
my disability is not my identity. This is what keeps pushing Joseph every single day. Majid Hussein, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Right, a beautiful story by one Majid Hussein right there. Moving on, Nakuru residents have been called upon to join existing or form new cooperative societies to benefit from cheaper credit for economic growth. Nakuru County CECM for Trade Stephen Courier said that the county had allocated enough money to spur growth of the cooperatives and enterprise development sectors through provision of seed capital for startups and growth. These and more stories from the counties with Stephanie Ogugu.
Speaking during the inauguration into office of the Enterprise Board, Nakuru County Chief Executive Committee member for Trade, Stephen Courier, while highlighting the importance of aligning the board's activity with the county government's strategic direction under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, has emphasized the need for Nakuru residents to join cooperatives.
The purpose of this board is to help us manage the enterprise funds that have been appropriated by the county assembly for the purposes of uplifting our businesses in Nakuru County.
Hakuna kukopa pesa kwa Shairok. Hakuna hii mambo ambaye ya biashara watu kufanya biashara na pesa na wanahujumu hawa watu wengine. So the county now has money.
Elsewhere, representatives from 11 African nations discussed at Lake Naivasha Resort how high cost of living, reduced purchasing power and recent floods have led to a significant increase in child labor cases in the country. Parents losing jobs due to tough economic conditions have forced minors, especially in agricultural areas, to seek casual work to support their families.
We estimate that child labor is on the increase based on our the recent happenings in the country arising out of the impact of COVID-19, when we had many people lose their livelihoods, and therefore you find access to education, their challenges.
And it's a lot of efforts on behalf of the UN and dialogue to accelerate SDG implementation. Now, I don't think there is a silver bullet. If there was, how could we possibly have an increase in child labor, right?
Many are joyful as Bungoma County prepares to host the celebration for the first time, most of them feeling that it is now time for the county to reap the benefits of the development.
Mimi nashukuru sana, aswa sana kama mheshimiwa wetu National Speaker Moses Wetangula kwa kufanya PT na pamoja na gavana wetu Makelo kufanya PT kutuchengea hii stadium. Nimefurahia sana. Hii stadium ingetuchukua miaka hata 40 na kitu.
Mheshimiwa Rais atakapowasili hapa tarehe mosi ama tarehe moja mwezi wa 6, tunaomba aongee na akusie vipanda ambavyo vilikwama na kampuni ambazo zilikwama kama Pani Paper.
Time now to get sporty. The CAF A licensed coaches have graduated today at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. The event has marked the end of 6 months training program, which kicked off from October 16, 2023. Over the past 6 months, the participants engaged in various practical sessions covering key areas such as organization, session management, performance improvement, meeting players' needs, communication, and match analysis.
I've learned a lot of new things. I've learned a lot on how to handle different things, more on football, but also out of the pitch. I believe that it will take us to the next level. As a national team coach, I have learned a lot, though I haven't been able to put it into practice, but as a club coach, you can easily tell.
If we have this good qualified coaches, we will the level of our league will be up again. We will have so many good quality players that can represent us well at the top level.
The Football Kenya Federation FKF coach educator Francis Kimanzi, who is also the Mathare United head coach, has been invited by the Federation of Uganda Football Association FUFA to facilitate Uganda's inaugural CAF A diploma course under the new convention. Kimanzi will work with Ugandan coach educators to deliver the modules for the course. Right, and we've come to the end of the broadcast this evening. I am Nancy Lima. Sign language interpreter is Felista Dundo. But before we leave, we'll leave you with the choking on duty feature. Now, approximately 19,000 people die each year due to air pollution in Kenya. This is according to a report by the World Health Organization, which places Nairobi as one of the most polluted cities that is killing its citizens. While vehicle emission is the biggest contributor to air pollution, at the center of all the fumes is a special group of people that are mandated to control the traffic at the expense of their health. Brian Mwai brings you this special feature dubbed Choking on Duty that highlights the dangers the traffic police officers face while ensuring that you travel in a controlled manner to save time. That feature will be going on, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Nairobi, the green city under the sun. The streets of the capital are busy all day, traffic bumper to bumper, with individuals rushing against time to either get to work or get home. Thousands of vehicles drive in and out of the CBD in a day, and with each engine turned on, one thing comes out: vehicular emission. A threat to the very environment we depend on for survival. As the rush to get to the destination is amplified by each acceleration, the toxic fumes become the new reality of pedestrians using the roads. However, there is a faction of people left out of the equation, the traffic police officers, whose job is to control the very traffic that is killing them one vehicle at a time as they choke on duty. When they are busy controlling traffic in the city and ensuring that everything is moving, they expose themselves to dangers that do not need a gun. Exposure to air pollution has great impact on the respiratory system, as Dr. Navid Merali explains.
Air pollution itself has got a very big problem in our airways. The molecules or the chemicals that are produced by these gases are what we call as free radicals. These free radicals cause harmful reactions in the airway by leading to excess inflammation. This is a very similar pathway to how cancer cells are formed. whereby there is persistent damage or free radical formation in cell tissue, and this leads to cell damage or chronic cellular damage. Air pollution then increases the risk of airway diseases. Some of these diseases are what we know as asthma. They can lead to chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. They can lead to increased incidence of chest infections, and they can even lead to an increased risk of lung cancer or other malignancies as well.
Paul Sigilai is a chief inspector and works with the traffic department. His work entails being on the streets to control traffic. Inspector Sigilai says he has been controlling traffic for over 3 years now and attests to the fact that his health has been affected as a result.
I've been on the traffic department for about almost 3.5 years, yes, in the 3.5 years in the CBD. Yes, there's numerous challenges, particularly the fumes. The fumes are not that good for human health, and on some occasion I've also gone to the hospital for medical checkup, having the chest congestions occasioned by dust and fumes in the CBD. And the challenges are there indeed, the challenges of exposure. Putting in mind that the fumes also affect the environment, the ozone layer. So if you can imagine it is affecting the ozone layer, what about the human beings?
The posting of officers is rotational, with each one of them lasting 8 hours on the road and at times even more, which leads to more exposure.
These are the same officers who will be here for the whole month, and we keep on rotating them. Sometimes they are here at the railways roundabout, sometimes they are the highway, Uru Highway. Now, the rotation happens on a weekly basis.
Their health is on the line as they continue to call for sick-offs.
Some officers do report cases of inspection, particularly chest infection, a lot of congestion. The officers spend more time actually standing and walking, and they rarely have time to rest because the traffic duty is very demanding. We have the congestion, the traffic jam, and you hardly get time to go and rest. You only have maybe 5 minutes. You go and have a little, a cup of coffee and then back again.
So what measures do officers take to protect themselves from the effects of pollution as they carry out their duty?
On the part of emission from exhaust fumes of motor vehicles, we actually tell them to put on masks. And most of them have masks in town. You see they have masks which will actually prevent what we call toxic contaminants which are emitted from the smoke of motor vehicles from getting into their respiratory system.
Without proper equipment while on the road for hours and hours, their vulnerability is evident because the more they take in, the more their system weakens.
The longer you are exposed, or the longer you're exposed to harmful gases, the worse or the higher the risk of your development of airway diseases, and the higher your severity of these diseases becomes. If you're going to be out in the street like a traffic policeman, smack in the middle of a busy highway whereby there's lots of cars, there's lots of exhaust fumes, you can expect that such a person is at a higher risk of developing chronic lung disease.
Vehicle emission have proven to be toxic because of the compounds released during combustion. The chemical components after combustion proving to be dangerous not just to humans but also to the environment.
Yeah, because you have dust, of course, and like I said, you have also components that have not been combusted. You get to have particles in the air, and those particles in the air, which we refer to as particulate matter, will have your COs and NOs and SO2, SOs. Those are components that have been emitted from the engines being absorbed, that is stuck onto the particulate matter, which we call dust. And therefore you're inhaling compounds or chemicals or molecules that are attached to dust. And that is where our story starts with our health.
While ozone is an invaluable compound in the upper atmosphere for our continued existence, when it forms on the ground level as smoke, it has a vast array of health issues that come along with it.
There is also what we call as ground level smog. Ground level smog is composed of poisonous gases that create a thick vapor that we end up inhaling. That is mainly as a result of car exhaust gases, diesel engines, and sometimes also from factories.
The use of masks has been fronted as one of the best ways in which one can protect oneself from the effects of air pollution.
There are two ways to look at it. The first is, what can the everyday mwananchi do? And one of the easiest things to do is to wear a mask. Masks, even though sometimes they're uncomfortable, reduce the amount of particulate matter, like soot, that you inhale. They may not reduce the amount of, the regular mask may not reduce the amount of gases that you inhale, but the amount of fine particles that will be reduced. There are specialized masks called which have got devices that can convert or the harmful gases into less harmful ones, but I don't think that's something everybody is going to have access to or wear. Some of the things that we do, for somebody who has no choice but to be in a polluted environment, wearing a mask is an easy solution.
So what should people exposed to pollution look out for after exposure?
The most common respiratory symptom generally is cough. And yes, with pollution, the most common symptom will still generally be cough. But it varies. For example, an asthmatic exposed to air pollution may start wheezing a lot more. Or, for example, an asthmatic somebody who's not asthmatic, exposed to a high amount of pollution, may either develop asthma-like symptoms. They can develop coughing, they can develop wheezing. Some people can develop shortness of breath, but it depends, because air pollution is also linked to cancers, and they may be higher risk of developing lung cancer as a result of chronic exposure to pollution.
The state of air quality in Nairobi still needs some working. For the month of May, from the 12th to the 22nd, the air quality in the city has been majorly moderate. At the beginning of the month, most days experienced good air quality due to the heavy rains witnessed in the country. During the month of May, different areas including Kariobangi North recorded unhealthy air quality, which was unhealthy for sensitive groups. Other affected areas include Nyerere Road, which surpassed the unhealthy mark, registering 102, with other areas registering moderate quality. The areas include Dandora Phase 4, Kangemi Health Center, Nairobi National Park, Kariobangi North Health Center, Nyayo Estate Gate B, Nyayo Estate Gate D, Elk Office, Nyayo Stadium, and the Aga Khan Academy. An estimated 40% of Nairobi's PM2.5 air pollution concentrations are attributable to road transport. PM2.5 is fine particulate matter that is 2.5 microns or less in diameter. These tiny particles are inhalable into the lungs and can induce adverse health conditions. The rise in PM2.5 concentration in Nairobi is primarily due to the presence of large and aged vehicle fleet, inadequate road network, and poorly enforced vehicle emission standards.
The regulations require that they make a requirement for testing of vehicles. But that requirement, we were not able to operationalize it because we didn't have standards for the vehicles. Recently, the standards, the vehicle emission standards, were adopted by the East African Community member states. That's in 2022. We adopted the standards. We have also amended the regulations, the air quality regulations 2014. We are waiting for the gazettement of the air quality regulations 2024, which have standards for the vehicle, because we could not operationalize that without one standards.
Despite accounting for only 9% of the population, the city hosts over a third of the country's 3 million vehicle fleet. However, only 12.8% of Nairobi residents possess vehicles.
The population in Nairobi is very, very high, yeah, and the population of humans in Nairobi is also very high. Given that every young guy, you, me, my young brother, whenever they get a job, the first dream they have is to own a car. Okay, could be operating from the same estate, living for the same job place, but everybody would be happy driving on their own beast.
Pollution is among the leading causes of death in Kenya, especially in Nairobi. The World Health Organization estimates that 19,000 people die annually in Kenya due to air pollution. The United Nations Environment Programme UNEP report shows that of the total death in Kenya resulting from air pollution, Nairobi accounted for 70% of those deaths, indicating the high degrees to which air pollution is prevalent in Kenya's capital. As of May 2024, data from IQ Air shows that 490 people have so far died from air pollution in Nairobi. experts have warned that Nairobi's air quality is getting worse each day, with particulate matter PM2.5 levels getting higher than the recommended limit by WHO.
Especially in our city of Nairobi, where, there are hundreds and thousands of cars on almost every major road. People are walking next to the cars. There's lots of exhaust fumes, there's lots of factories. If you go to industrial area, you'll see there's lots of smoke. You can even see the air is not very clear. And if we look at Nairobi's air quality index, which is what we use to assess how good our air is, Nairobi's air quality index is rated as moderate. Moderate is generally unhealthy. This puts vulnerable people, especially asthmatics, people with airway diseases, people with chronic lung diseases, at risk of having increased flare-ups, increased admissions. It really just becomes a big problem.
The government, however, has measures in place to help mitigate the effects of emission.
So anytime these amended regulations are gazetted, we will roll out vehicle emission testing. It will be a requirement that when for private vehicles it will be once after every 2 years. Commercial vehicles it will be once annually. Okay, we will be administering stickers, emission compliance stickers for vehicles that have complied with the requirements. Upon testing, we will designate testing centers where people owners of vehicles will be required. Once these regulations are gazetted, owners of vehicles will have to take their vehicles there for testing. Once they pass the test, you get a sticker.
The biggest challenge to dealing with unroadworthy vehicles has been the lack of proper regulatory standards. The voice on what should be done is uniform across the board, with the threat on health very evident.
So it is true, when you have a vehicle that is stationary, the bus stops, when vehicles are picking passengers and the exhaust are directed to the bus stop or to a shop next to the bus stop or a kiosk, then you have very high concentrations of the compounds that are being exhausted and are inhaled, and over time the individuals get into more health issues.
If we were to reduce the number of motor vehicles on the highway, the amount of air pollution would go down. More sustainable transport systems that, for example, other countries have implemented include like electric trains or having specialized roads that can accommodate many cyclists, tends to reduce the amount of noxious gases produced.
Currently, Nairobi, the network monitoring is still very limited, because most of the monitoring sites are concentrated in some few areas, but some areas have no monitoring equipment. Secondly, this data, we don't have a central repository where we can access this data.
The sun sets in the green city under the sun. Pedestrians and traffic officers who have been busy working around the clock to fend for their families retreat home with conditions that are slowly taking their lives.
Normally we deploy the officers for 8 hours. We've got the first and the second shift. And the first one begins at around 5 in the morning. And that one runs until sometimes in the day, around 2 or thereabout. Then the second shift begins until almost 10 p.m.
Traffic officers who have cleared the roads are now forced to struggle to breathe, with lungs choking on duty. And as the vehicles continue to flock to the streets, so does the smoke, reducing the quality of air. Visions become blurry, indicating that for those exposed to poor air quality, their future is bleak and an emission away from death. Brian Amuai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.